Thanks everyone for being here. Chad Frazier, I'm the Vice President of Solutions Engineering. Just wanted to kind of start and give you a little like current state into evolution. It ties into our messaging, and we'll talk about our platform. Interesting, it's a complementary, a lot of the same components, different intended outcome. But you know, today the market is obviously there's challenges from an MSP perspective. Is typically it's been reactive. The challenge is really kind of demonstrating value, right? That you're more than 24/7 watching alerts come in. A lot of point solutions around not only monitoring and managing assets as you traditionally see in the marketplace, but also from a cyber perspective. That line is blurring a lot. MSPs and MSSPs are partners in a lot of respects. MSSPs are typically monitor, notify. They don't really manage those assets and the controls. So one of the things that's happening is those lines are blurring. So the model, you can look at a lot of the things. We bring efficiency because we have a lot of people that are trained on different technologies. As Andrew said, our spread, we tend to be vendor agnostic, right? We know that the modern day enterprise, there's acquisitions, there's multi OEM environments. So we felt it was important that we had to come in and service all of those, to an equal level of service. So some of the things you see up here is 24/7, always around response time and those types of things. In a shared resource model, it's, to really scale 24/7, you have to have some level of shared resource model, having dedicated pods and everything. As demand kind of flexes in and out, you have to manage against that. So certainly our model, we tend to put, shared resources kind of on the front end, and more dedicated or designated resources on the back end to kind of be more subject matter experts in the environment. So that really leads to like a lot of these things and a lot of these challenges that we've seen, and some of the questions you've asked today about, context, and if somebody calls in and it's not somebody who normally services us, that's really what's moving us into this new this new paradigm. So when you're looking at like putting things like AI in, self-service, transparency, visibility, observability, all those things are something that we understand we have to put front and center. It's more of a self-service model to give you the information that you need today to get assurance that you have your finger on the pulse of like where you are today, what the issues are, if there's a major incident, what's happening, those types of things. So a lot of what we've done around that is kind of moved, to more of an advanced proactive model. And a lot of these things you see like under 2030 are actually things that are happening today, and then we're evolving into that. So obviously, quantum computing is in the early stages. That's something that we're watching, understand the risks around, what does that mean for encryption, right? We know that once quantum computing really hits, that like all the cryptology is going to be a lot easier to crack. So those are all things and trends that we're keeping in mind as we go forward. There is the concept of, everything moved from on-prem to cloud. There's challenges there if you have everything centralized. So you see things like edge computing, where you're moving computing power out to the edge where those workloads are and where they live, so that you decrease latency, you give better outcomes earlier on in the cycle. So it's all, it all kind of feeds together into like all these themes feed together into the evolution of what we are today and what we need to be tomorrow as the landscape continues to change.
Yeah, we're going to focus a little bit on people always ask, well, there's a million MSPs out there. What makes you different, right? That's the most common question we get. So I thought this slide was extremely relevant because if you're sitting still and you're doing the things that you did 5 years ago and you're not changing, then you're dying, right? So you a lot of the movement that we've had. So we were purchased by private equity in 2024. We've been acquiring companies strategically, and a lot of those, especially the last acquisition we just took on. Chad's going to talk a little bit about kind of our unified portal. So we're looking at kind of that single pane of glass so that you're able to see your dashboarding, analytics, your ticketing, your assets. All those things are going to be visible in one place, and that's a big, massive differentiation in what we're doing. So above and beyond that, I am going to take you through just kind of a little bit of the company and the overview and kind of where we're heading, and then we're also going to talk about some of the service delivery roles and things that take place there. So we are a full-fledged enterprise MSP and MSSP. One of the other things that makes us unique is we have a lot of substantial value add pull-throughs. So we're a connectivity aggregator, we do voice, we do application development. And so a lot of times when clients are looking for a kind of a single partnership, so when they're looking to consolidate those relationships, we get brought in because we are very niche from the sense that there's not a lot of providers that can fulfill the needs and some of the things that we do from that perspective.
There's a lot of them that don't want that spoke either, right? Like they stay in their lanes, right? We want compute, we want end user support, right? We want monitoring and management. They don't want to get into the other areas that become gaps.
Yep. So from a product portfolio, we kind of we look at it as like 6 pillars, right? So the first two are 1A and 1B, right? So MSP, managed service provider, right? Managed security service provider, all things under those umbrellas, right? So everything from IT operations, network operations, and security operations all are consumed in those first two. Do realize there are some soft services like manual pen testing, incident response, compliance and governance. So there's a lot of great things that are certainly needed and available other than just the EDR, MDR, XDR, which everybody talks about. So you need those things, but it's not everything from that perspective. And then again, complementing. So when you get into, highly distributed enterprises, they also have need for ISP services. They need voice, they need all those things. And again, if you can layer a support structure where all those things are available to you and then they all show up in a unified portal, again, that's where some of the secret sauce and some of the magic happens. We also, within all of our markets, we do have local resources from a field services perspective, but we also have the ability to go global with those smart hands. So there's a lot of need for being able to roll a truck and be able to put hands on devices. So break, fix, rack and stack, cabling, wireless assessments, all those are big time needed. And then the project work, right? So typically you've leveraged a VAR for buying your hardware, software, and doing professional services, but all of those exist within our portfolio. So not only can we handle the day-to-day operational support, we can also provide the network engineers and all of the project work that's needed behind those. And we can wrap it with procurement of the hardware, the licensing, all of that kind of stuff. So it's pretty impactful and it's pretty massive from a.
Do you guys is the pro serve side of that? You have to be basically a managed service customer, right, in order to get pro serves?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We generally that's a value added offering to our client base when they're consuming long term support, we're providing them with those value add assets.
I would say the one exception is probably more advisory services because we understand a lot of times you have to baseline the environment and understand what you're taking on. So some of the advisory services are we would lead with.
Yeah.
Are your field service techs local in the DFW area, or I know some companies have people in Houston or whatever and have to fly them in?
No, they'd be local.
They are local.
They're headquartered here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, where are you guys in
McKinney?
McKinney?
Yep.
That's right.
Yep. So we have our corporate office here. We've got 2 operation centers here. We do with our acquisitions. Again, told you we were private equity, so expanded into Minneapolis, Buffalo, and New York City. The last acquisition was Agio, which again that platform that I talked about. So there's been a 5-year and $10 million investment in that platform to give you all the generative AI, the sentiment, all those things that we've kind of talked about. By the way, if you want a demo of that platform, make sure you let somebody know, and we'll make sure we connect with you guys on making sure you get to see a view of our platform. There wasn't enough time today to do that. We are 24/7, 365 here, but we also have complementary support within our Belfast and our Pune offices, right? So, really, when you're trying to cover the night shifts and the nights and weekend shifts, you've been doing that for 15 years. So we've got a staff of people that love to do the night shift. They're born and they really like to do that stuff. But a lot of times it's hard to find that level 2, level 3 support on those shifts. And so Belfast now has that. So we have a major SOC and knock inside of Belfast where we've got those resources and it's daytime for them. So it really complements our solution well. And then all of these offices are W2. So even in Pune, it's our office, it's our W2 resources. And again, they're complementary resources when we need to find exceptional talent for cost effective. So sometimes we're working with like a smaller, large enterprise where they're trying to keep costs down. And so we can leverage these resources where we need to based on what kind of costing model that we're trying to put together, complemented with what kind of skill set that we're looking for based on what we're trying to accomplish. So does that make sense?
Yes, smart.
And I wanted to cover. So on the managed service side, everything really in play. So endpoint management and user management, so this would be inclusive of like a service desk or a help desk, right? Server management, Microsoft and Google platform management, all the network management. We are agnostic from the OEMs that we support. We also have a asset inventory and warehousing logistics part of our organization. So if you need to store gear and network gear, peripherals like laptops, desktops, monitors, things of that nature, and get them out of the field, we do have a practice for that. Again, not a standalone practice, but something that we offer to our long-term clients.
Question for you.
Yep.
So do you have to buy the whole stack, or if it's like, hey,
No.
I've got 90% done, I just need some expertise in
Absolutely.
this area?
We find our lane. The devil's always in the details. There certainly are caveats with that, but for all intents and purposes, no. If you're just looking for endpoint end user support and nothing else, that is absolutely acceptable, and those are things that we can lean into. For sure.
And there's also the interesting thing is there's tiers to it, right? So there's like fully managed, kind of co-managed, and kind of more self-service piece of it, where you can kind of there you go. Sorry about that.
Yep.
But this is a really interesting part because most times MSPs it's all or nothing, right? They don't want to touch something that they're not fully controlling and have full control, right? They don't want to let go. This is very different here because you're kind of you can kind of crawl, walk, run, right, with them to it, but like there's variations in how much support you need, right? If you can cover, you're basically looking at what's your strengths, what's your weaknesses, let's go fill your weaknesses, right, and complement your strengths.
And by the way, to Andrew's point, we are agnostic to the OEMs and the platforms that we support, right? So we don't have to rip and replace anything. If that is a desire, say you want to rip everything out and you want to go full blown Fortinet or full blown Meraki, or just use those as an example. Those are two we do a lot. We absolutely can do those things, but we can layer over the top of what's there. Do a lot of M&A, a lot of private equity stuff. So we get into like opportunities where they're buying companies and they have a hodgepodge of everything, right? And so we're able to layer our support. And so it doesn't matter if they've been like Dell or traditional Cisco or any of these, and then we can find a way to migrate all of those into like a single tenant, a single platform from that perspective. Make sense? And then real quick, just kind of tool set wise, right? So we do leverage best in breed, so it's kind of a commercial grade tool. So we do need tools in order to do our perform our duties and do our job well. So you'll see we've had various.
You guys brought in Netrio One?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's from the Agio acquisition, as well as Logic Monitor, which is also a great tool. So we've got some of our legacy Netrio tools along with some of the newer tools, but these are all available through the Netrio Now platform. So we've got a little bit of time, so I want Chad to hit on that a little bit on our platform. Chad, do you want to talk a little bit about Netrio Now? Sorry, I'm moving fast. We're limited on time, so.
Anybody have any questions so far?
And he has 90 slides.
I cut out 5 each time.
So Andrew, would, say I sign up for them to do X, Y, and Z and not everything, would I be able to track all this stuff through your portal?
Yeah. I mean, we're working on, so we were waiting for this to come out that they've been working on, and then we're going to figure out how we make those things talk, right? So that's kind of the next step here, because we have a lot of customers with them as well today. They want to see that information. The answer is yes.
So I think that, oh. go
Quick
ahead.
question, several of the governance and compliance SOC 1 and 2 on a few of your slides.
Mhm.
Is that about your own business, or can you help bring that to your customer as well?
Yes and yes. Yeah, it is about our business. We are SOC 1 and 2 certified. I've had the pleasure to like engage, and we had, as an example, one of our sister portfolio companies was acquiring a company from Leidos, DoD contractor. So we had to go through and look at, from a CMMC perspective, what do they need to have in place? So really, I think that's one of our strengths is like around compliance and regulatory, any of those frameworks.
And are you limited to the readiness, or can you do the audits for your customer?
We're not like Avanta. We would be helping collect the evidence and architecting and all that. And then probably where we will assist in that, but where we really focus is on maintaining compliance. As you well know, compliance is a snapshot, right? And as an example, and this is kind of part of the power of the platform. You may have, through same type of thing that you've heard described, where we'll go out to M365, we'll pull in data to baseline and say, hey, we know that you need to have MFA turned on for everybody. This user got put into an exception policy. They don't have MFA. At the end of the day, they need to be pulled out of that exception policy to bring you back into compliance. So we kind of focus on the front end on like the technical due diligence in terms of determining what that needs to look like. But you would go to like a Vanta or somebody like that for the actual certification. And then we would complement that on the back end to help maintain compliance drift. Did that answer your question?
Yep, thank you.
I really look at this as complementary to all the kind of platforms you've talked about today. Our focus is on service management, right? How do we keep availability and really the wheels turning on things, right? So, the fact that the MSP is responsible for the IT operations, network operations, security operations is very important in pairing the security operations with the IT and network operations, because one place you're looking for stuff, but you don't have the ability to remediate, it's integrated in the same workflow to go remediate that, right? So the same workflow will trigger over to somebody who manages that device or that environment to make those changes. So it's really a seamless.
Same ticketing platform.
Yeah.
Too, right?
So we're built on top of ServiceNow, so as opposed to Salesforce, ServiceNow. So all the ITIL processes, incident management, change management, asset management, that's all there. CMDB is there, right? So our CMDB is more about how do you provide services around those assets. So it's complementary to what you've heard about the technology expense management. It's the operational piece of like, how should that environment be managed to keep you compliant or in line with your goals of where you're trying to get. I mean, even if you don't have a regulatory compliance issue, you still would probably have to go get cyber insurance, right, at a reasonable rate. So there's benchmarks like by the cybersecurity defense matrix that you'd go peg to do that, and we'll align there. I think, self-service is important. We develop risk registers, so a lot on like SEC, very strong on SEC, PCI DSS, CMMC. So those are some of the major kind of frameworks that we align to. Knowledge bases, and again, we want to expose this and make it. I think one of the other things I want to mention really quickly is just operational efficiency. So if a ticket's open and the case goes, then what we'll do with AI is gather all this information to say, hey, historically, here it is. You don't have to have somebody log in, go collect logs and all that. We'll pull that out of our data lake of all this structured, semi-structured, unstructured data, pull it in to provide context and even recommendations to the engineers that are working those tickets. So it provides you with a very, if this guy that normally is servicing your account's gone, whoever steps in their place has that context so that they can resolve the issue as quickly as possible.
I think we're out of time. You want any questions real quick? Anyone?
I think I'll make one comment real quick on that first.
Good, Rick.
So on the MSP part, so if y'all provide MSP service, can we get access as the customer to a list of the tickets? Or do we have to just kind of, they go off in La La Land and I can't?
No, it's all part of the,
Yeah.
the unified portal. So you'll
Okay.
have
So then
analytics
AMS is the
dashboards.
same part.
It'll
Yeah.
be set up just the way you want to see it. So you'll be able to report to your leadership team. Here's what the MSP is doing. Here's how they're performing. Next to
We can see open tickets versus
And you can
closed
see your
tickets.
tickets and look at them and yeah, absolutely. So
And even have
full
dashboards.
transparency.
And sentiment's another thing, like real-time sentiment analysis, as opposed to having at the end of the month a report and saying, hey, this was a good experience, that wasn't. We apply real-time sentiment so that if somebody needs to come in and assist to move it along, it's taken too long to move through, or we even sense that the sentiment that you're frustrated, like, I've asked you this question again, then that triggers something from the service delivery perspective to bring in help and make sure that moves along and increases that satisfaction.